Alright guys, welcome to the stream I'm gonna be doing. Okay, first I'm gonna talk a few things. Um a few things first. Let's see. So today I'm gonna talk a little bit about Venezuela, kind of what's going on there. I think that's important to talk about because it's looking like a color revolution. If anybody has seen that before, understands that. The CIA's done a lot of those in South America, Iran, places around the world. So I think it's important to get some perspective on that. Next, I wanted to talk about Operation Steel. I want to go over a few details of that. I'm going to be putting up some stuff, so like I'll drop. So like, yeah, as far as like, we're going to talk Venezuela. Um, I like that. As far as I think, there's also a documentary I want to talk about. If you guys haven't watched, it's Man of War on Amazon Prime. Super good. So check that out if you get a chance. But then we're gonna talk, like I said, Operation Steel. I think that'll be good to show. And then last but not least, we're gonna talk about Senator Kelly and kind of what's the latest and greatest on that. I think, as far as that's concerned, it's just going to be opinion. I don't think there's any new updates on what's going on there. But again, that's kind of one of those things that is kind of important to talk about right now because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there about kind of um, what the laws are and whatnot on that note. So yeah, that'll be the last thing we talk about. So if you guys got any questions or anything, just throw it in the chat. I think these are going to be recorded on the platforms. So, yeah, if you miss something or come in late, you know, do that. Okay, so first we're going to talk about Venezuela. Okay, I took some notes on my phone earlier, so let me get that. But first, I want to talk about that. Like I said, if you haven't seen the documentary, it's called Man of War. Check it out. It's I'm gonna give a little backstory on it, but like I said, I gotta find this these notes I took. So anyway, um, well, I think my grok decided to have a stroke. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. There was a Green Beret, and he had gotten out of the army. This was in, let's see, let me see if it gives the year. Oh, so this is 2020. So, okay, Operation Gideon is what it was called. So, if anybody, like I said, if you want to see more details on this, I'm going to cover the basics, but I'm not going to get super in detail on this 2020 fiasco. So, Operation Gideon. Basically, there was a guy who was a former Green Beret who signed a $15 million deal, and it was, he said, like hiring a bar fighter for Delta Force. Um, yeah. Anyway, so they hire this guy through a bunch of shell companies. He's in Florida. He goes down to Venezuela and he puts together this ragtag force of like, dude, it was like he it's obviously the government. He's putting together a militia against the government. Like there was already a movement going to replace that government in 2020. So he's not like he just like started a revolution. He just found the forces that were already there, organized them, and funneled a bunch of money. So basically, I'm not saying that's what the Green Berets do, but I mean, as far as like non-kinetic operations, this is kind of what the Green Berets bread and butter is. Go into a country, train a military, have them fight for themselves. That's kind of their whole shtick. So that's why they say you could send a Green Beret team into a country and they could take over the whole country within like a year. So, and that's kind of like what they're trying to do. We in the global war on terror haven't used the Green Berets as I think as well as we should have, due to like how they like we didn't really embed them with the culture as much as we should have. And I think that was operational dictation more than what they wanted to do. I think they would have rather done it their way. Okay, so anyway, this dude puts together all these guys. He does this whole thing where he trains them up. I don't remember the timeline, but he comes down to where he's going to do a hit. So he gets 3 boats. He does this ambush where they've got their forces, they're coming over in these 3 boats. Now, on this map that I've got pulled up on the background right now, I don't know where they hit on the coastline, but they came and they did a raid on the coastline. So Maduro's, um, so the guy who's in charge of Venezuela, he knew, like, so apparently he got some kind of tip off. I can't remember from the show exactly how, but he gets tipped off. So he basically mows down a bunch of dudes, and then I think that some more people got captured, and but basically it was amateur hour. Somehow they knew it was coming. It was only 3 boats. It was only like 50 men, but they were gonna link up with like another bunch of forces. But basically, they surrounded them and ended up putting them in camps. They captured them. So anyway, so my point is that if you take what happened in 2020 as to kind of what's going on now, you're basically like, okay, this is color revolution 2.0. But the thing that worries me more is this isn't like a paid, we're going to give a dude $15 million and claim we have nothing to do with it. This is more direct conflict. So what we're seeing now is you got a whole fleet. Hey, let me turn this audio down a bit. Okay, so you got a whole fleet. You got them in the Caribbean, so that that's kind of a big deal. And so in January of this year, um, Trump put a bounty on Maduro for $50 million, and then Rubio, our Secretary of State, he's been jumping around and talking about oil deals. Now this is a big deal for people who don't know. Venezuela is has the potential to be the richest country in South America, and it's huge oil reserves. And on top of that fact, it actually was a very wealthy country for a long time. And I seen this post a while the other day that was basically talking about how, this lady was saying that like when they were in Venezuela back when like Cuba was having a bunch of issues, she was saying that, oh, Venezuela will never be like that. Well, sure, now turn around and here we are. Venezuela's been is under the um they're under the leadership of somebody who's just ran them into the ground. And so now you're stuck with this point where you're just like, okay, what do we do? So I think America's looking at this in kind of the way of, hey, this is a country that they don't look like they're coming back from, until they do a regime change, they're not coming back from it. Now you can say that this is where the U.S. government does where it does best, where it'll go in, it'll change the leadership. But the problem is this isn't looking like no low key CIA operation. And I think that's kind of the problem here. So, in the USS Ford Carrier Group is what's in the Caribbean. They've been there since September. So the guys is to push the whole carrier group down into the Caribbean and basically claimed that it was drug interdiction task force stuff. Uh, that one's hard because on one hand, you could say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. On the other, drug interdiction is Homeland Security. So if we're going to put, if you're going to put that in a box, you got to put it in Homeland Security. Our carrier groups, that falls under the Department of Defense, and Department of Defense is obviously defense. We can't do drug interdiction with military, but the administration circumvented this because what they basically did was they said the drug cartels are terror groups. Now, you can agree with that, you can disagree. I haven't really thought about it enough to have an opinion, to be honest. It seems, I don't know. It seems like a ploy to do what they're doing, to be honest. I mean, w- it's like I talked about on my last podcast. I mean, you can't even really consider the Taliban an international terrorist group outside of Afghanistan because they've never done any international terror work. Now, have they harbored international terrorists? Have they funded international terrorism? On the funding part, I'm not 100% sure, but they want to establish the caliphate, so it's like the narco terrorists, as you or, Fox would like to call them, bro, they're just making money. Now, can you classify that as a terror group? That depends on how you define the word terror. So here's the problem. So we got this whole carrier fleet down here, and then the issue is force. When you start moving forces in places, you're basically you're gonna ramp up the other side. So now Venezuela's on this whole thing where they're like, yeah, we're gonna ramp up our forces, and they're putting their navy out there. So who knows, man? We'll see. I mean, this could turn out to be something crazy. This could turn out to be a big nothing burger. But I think it's something that people should keep in mind. So, all right, on to the next thing. Um, okay, I'm gonna have to pull this up. So hang on, give me a second. Let's see. Okay, so there was a recent thing that just happened. Um, all right, let me see if I can find it. Okay. I guess I'm just gonna put it up on screen so you guys can see it. Hang on, let me find it. So there was a shooting. Speaking um, of the two National Guard soldiers. So nobody's died yet, but um, the problem is they're claiming that this could possibly be an act of terrorism because the guy they found who they claim is the okay, there we go. All right, I put it up on screen for those of you who want to follow along and see that. So basically, as you see right here, live updates, shooting of two National Guard members um, is a possible act of terrorism. So basically, they're saying it's an act of terrorism because, let's see, let's scroll down here and look. Okay, so they were shot this afternoon. They were targeted near the White House and is in critical condition. Um, so the gunman was also shot and is in custody. So they obviously they got the guy, but I didn't know he got shot. So his name I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. It's obviously foreign. So the problem is what I was seeing on X, and I haven't seen official sources of this, but they say that okay, here we go. Ah, the USCIS, effective immediately, the processing of all immigration requests relating to Afghan nationals is stopped indefinitely pending further review and security of vetting protocols. So the problem is this guy was and like I said, I haven't seen the actual sources, but some people are saying that he was brought in on the so when the whole Abbey Gate situation happened and all that and the Taliban started to take over Afghanistan, he was part of the wave of people that we brought over as like a um what's it called, uh like a humanitarian crisis. So I don't know if that's the case, but you know um, there was somebody that said that he shouted Allah Akbar when he shot him. Haven't seen that. That's not here on NBC, but again, who knows? Man, it was floating around on X. So my point is um, yeah, just watch out there because that's some crazy junk right there. I don't know if that happens to be true. I guess we'll see. Um, but yeah, and we'll follow this. So a couple of people said they died, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, and here's the thing. I think for people to remember is that ever since 2001, and even before 2001, if you read a bunch of the CIA books and see kind of the history of terrorism, Islamic extremism has never been outside of this country. It's always been here. So, I think that's one of those things that people forget. It's not it's not something that could happen every day, but it's also something that could not. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's here, and but it's in such small pockets. It's not common, and you're not gonna. And here's the thing: is you may, especially a lot of you who are on X or something, you might see a lot of like really anti-Muslim stuff coming out of like Minnesota and stuff. Look, man, that's not that's just not there. That's not Sharia law, and you see a lot in Texas. Everybody's talking about how many mosques are being built in Texas. I was listening to somebody the other day who actually broke down the numbers. It's not even relevant. Like one of those counties in Texas has like 2,000 churches, and it has like 5 mosques or something. Yeah, it's insane. So don't believe everything you hear. You know, terrorism, as much as I've studied it's an ideology. It's hard to kill, and just like some of these other extremists that we see, that they get found on like Discord. The whole thing coming out with the shooting with Charlie Kirk, and then some of the other stuff, all those other shootings. We've seen that those guys are like Discord, super deep forums that people don't really see the light of day on the internet. This is the same thing. If you study terrorism, that's how this works. So these are extreme Muslims. Muslims for the most part. If I think I'd have to check the numbers again. I'm not sure. I think Christianity still outnumbers them, but huge, massive world population, man. Like, just because you're Muslim doesn't mean you're a terrorist. So remember that. If it's a threat, if it looks like a threat, if it quacks like a threat, it's a threat. But you need to know, and you need to know the difference. And profiling is harder than people think. It's not just skin color. It's not are they wearing a hijab. You know, so take that from the guy who spent time in the Middle East. So, all right. So we're gonna move on from that. I think that about covers that. Let's check on a couple other things. I'm gonna pull this up. All right, so thing I wanted to look at today is, let me turn the screen capture off because you are seeing my thing is this. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this because I talked about this a little bit yesterday when I did a stream, but it didn't work out. I had to fix a lot of audio issues, so um, that didn't pan out. So, all right. Okay, so basically what happened in this right here is I'm gonna pull up X and read a little bit of an article. Okay, so basically in 2004, all right, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines, and I'll put this up here in a minute. Um, it's got some more photos on here, but I'm just gonna put the map up right now so you guys know what you're looking at. So, okay, in 2005, the 13th MEU. So 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines was on the 13th MEU. All right. They made some port calls, did some exercise in Australia, the Philippines, Southeast Asian countries. So basically Thailand, Malaysia, all through there. Went through the Suez Canal, and they got told they were going to Iraq. So I'm not sure if they got stop block, which means they got extended. I don't know about that, but anyway, so basically, if you look at the map that's up right now, you'll see that there's a place called near the Syrian border to the left over there. You'll see Camp Gannon, and then you got Quezon is in the middle. Okay, so you got three. You got Bellawood on the right, Quezon, and then Camp Gannon. So basically, these are the three towns that 2-1 is tasked to take. So the Euphrates River is the river that runs in the background. I think y'all can read that on the map. I'm not sure if it's big enough. So that blue line that runs through it's the Euphrates. So basically, they're going to go from Route 12, which is the orange line, and they're going to push across. Now, obviously, in the city closest to Syria, they're not going to be able um, to push dudes from between the road to the river, because that's what makes it easy when it comes to a military clearing. It's easy when you are pushing between two entities that your enemy can't leave. You can hold a road. It's a nice flat open terrain. It's easy to see, and it's easy to secure. River being on the other side, unless people are swimming, they're open targets. So that's why this is should be a pretty breezy operation. So basically, they head down. They go to the Euphrates River. Now I'm not going to cover the whole thing because it's a very long article. Um, so basically, 3-6 is there. So 3-6 being there, they're basically going to participate in this operation. Is called Operation Steel Curtain. So 3-6 is already in country. They're going to be leaving. So they're like, hey, 2-1, between 2-1 and 3-6, we're going to take out this whole 440 district. That's what it was called. So this is like a grid style city. So they get all the way to the end. All right, so this is Fox Company, and they get all the way to the city of Ubadai. It laid in the center of a heart-shaped bend in the Euphrates River. So you can see from the map, the city on the right is Ubadiah, and I'm probably butchering that name, but it's all good. Anyway, so they're gonna push. See, the thing is if you can see on the map, you see how if they come in from Route 12 and they push straight, they're basically funneling the enemy up against the Euphrates River. So they said that it consisted of sparsely populated farmland, but the new part of the town looked like a modern urban center. Um, Kind of like what it says what the Marines that took who's by the one on the far left over by Camp Gannon. They said that's what it looked like. So here let me throw this screen capture up so you can see. All right, so you can see this is kind of what it looked like um through. This is Ubadai. So they see a bunch of IEDs go along all these roads, and they basically come to the point where they said that our standard operating procedure was to put a grenade or a 203 round or a small rocket into every building before they went in. Because, I mean, this is how hot it is. I mean, they're basically shooting rockets into buildings as they're clearing them, and they're just clearing houses sunrise to sundown, dude. I mean, they're just going all day. So they're basically fragging every room, blowing up every building before they enter and clear it. So for 2 days, Fox Company pushed through. They do a whole bunch of stuff. All right, so yeah, so okay, I'm gonna get down here to where they talk about it. So basically, they emerge out on a countryside of farmland leading up to the Euphrates. On the morning of November 16th, the company spread out on line to sweep the remaining ground. Second platoon fell in the company's center. So it was a complex of 20 farmhouses and other structures stretched across several hundred meters. So they literally only have hundreds of meters between them and the river. I mean, they are almost there. So I'll take this off for a second so you can look. Okay, back at the map, you look at the city of Ubadai, and I mean, they are literally in the center of the company's position. They only have a couple hundred meters left before they get to the river. So they are super close to being done. I mean, this whole operation's almost done. So basically, 3 rifle squads filled out second platoon. So they have first squad cleared through the structures on the outer rim. Third squad moved up to the center, and second squad remained behind on security. So they get to a collection of farmhouses. We stopped for a minute, and all of a sudden there was a big boom. Something went off on the other side of the wall. Next thing we knew, there was gunfire everywhere, and everything was going to hell. We sprinted to the end of the wall and got into our assigned building as soon as we finished clearing the first floor, and another team was moving up the stairs. An insurgent bust through the house through the back door. We had no idea who was there. Sean Studzinski. Okay, I just got to stop right here because I've already read this article. And I'm just gonna say, anybody who has the last name Studzinski, yeah, that's good in my book, dude. That's a that's a kicking name. Anyway, he and several others were in the hallway when the insurgent started firing. Basically, he kneels down, perfect form, double taps the dude right in the chest. So think about this. They've already cleared this building. Like they're almost done. Guys are upstairs, and all of a sudden, homeboy just rolls in through the back door like an insurgent, a bad guy. That's insane, man. So anyway, the insurgent fell into a room down the hall. We could see his feet sticking out. Uh, so then the engineer who there was an engineer behind Sudzinski. He got shot in the wrist, so he started screaming. He said one of the team leaders told us to frag the room. I kept an eye on the doorway while Van Hout moved up and pitched a grenade in the room. Somehow the guys were still alive after it went off, so we captured them and turned them over to the Iraqis. Quick note here: if you turn somebody over to the Iraqis in Iraq, they were toast, bro. Like the the Iraqis wasn't putting these dudes in prison. At least that's what I heard. So allegedly or whatever. So anyway, all right. Ah, so he said, I made it up to the roof. Somebody told me to start firing 2 or 3 rounds into the palm groves behind the house. He said, I looked down into the courtyard in the house and I seen a car blow up and a dead cow. I was trying to connect all the dots, the explosions, gunfire, and the insurgent we killed. In that moment, we were isolated in that house. We had no idea what was going on with the rest of the platoon. In hindsight, I think the initial explosion was a kicker and started everything that morning. But at the time, we had no idea that Third Squad and some other guys were in total mayhem. So, as the shooting began, Third Squad moved towards the buildings near the center of the complex. The squad operated short-handed with only 2 fire teams. One team set up in the building to provide overwatch, while the remaining was prepared to make entry into a farmhouse 75 yards away. So, 19-year-old Ben Sandback stacked up with his fire team outside the door. Sandback took point with Corporal Joshua Ware. Next in line were 2 more Marines behind him. Ware pushed through the door. Um, he he pushed against Sandback's shoulder, silently signaling the junior Marine to dart through the door. So, on the preceding days, every Marine in Third Squad had expended their fragmentation grenades, clearing house to house. So the only thing Sandback had was the only thing he had was a flashbang. So, I mean, think about this. Homeboy literally has nothing but a flashbang. They have cleared so many buildings in these last couple of days that they're out of grenades. Like, they have no more grenades. So he says, I threw a flashbang through the door, and all it did was stir the hornet's nest. Sandbag reflected today. That gave them timing. He said, I knew as soon as it went off, we were coming through the door. I rounded the corner, and as soon as I made entry, the insurgents already had a grenade in the air. So they already had a grenade. So it landed between me and Ware, and it went off before I could even yell grenade. An RPK machine gun then opened up. So homeboy gets an RPK, it opens up. They made entry into a barricaded stronghold. So numerous enemies. They had cut mouse holes in the wall, which basically means they have like little holes. They stick machine gun barrels through them, and they'll just light you up. So I mean, it's insane, man. I mean, this is insane. So, okay. All right. Sorry, I had to check something. So, they go in there. Um, as soon as they step foot in this ambush, the terrorists are directing fire below their waist, so below their body armor. They light them up. So basically, Sandback's momentum carried him through the doorway in the hallway just inside. 3 machine gun bullets grazed off his helmet, and the grenade blast that they threw in between him and Ware decimated both his legs and blew his M16 out of his hands. The grenade mortally wounded Ware, who was slumped in the hallway, and a machine gun bullet struck the next Marine in the center of his helmet, ricocheting off his night vision goggle. Dude, that's crazy. So that knocked him back through the door. So the last Marine in the stack, he fell back outside the door with shrapnel wounds. So he said, I was so beat up by the grenade, Sandbag said there was so much blood coming out of my legs, I'm pretty sure I lost consciousness. So he's stuck in the room. He's trying to find out where the rest of his team is, but they're pinned down outside. They're trying to figure out where they were, but there's dead people everywhere. I mean, this is insane. So, from their Overwatch position, 75 yards away, the rest of the third squad is just watching. But, they're in the Overwatch. So, Overwatch means that when, like, let's say you have an assault element, all right, in their position somewhere, you have Overwatch that's basically sitting where they can see them. And then you may have a machine gun or a sniper or something like that. This is so that if that team starts getting attacked or outflanked or something like that, the that Overwatch element can, one, inform them if they can't see it coming. Number two, that Overwatch element basically can also be a support by fire position if they're positioned correctly, meaning that they can lay down suppressive fire to allow the assault element to basically move, or they're in a good position to be if they're in Overwatch. So basically, the problem is they were too far to communicate. Each team had a short range radio, but amidst the gunfire, nobody was answering. So the insurgents opened fire as some Marines dashed over the open distance. One of the engineers got shot in the leg. Moy and Lucenti reached the house and staged outside the front door. The last two Marines from Sandbag's fire team were bleeding just inside. Moy, I think it's Moy. I don't know if anybody can see this. I don't know. Anyway, but so Moy, basically, he's they're just inside. So he snatched them both, moved them 25 yards under another structure. So that basically they're casualty collection points. So he gets to another structure close by, he puts them in a casualty collection point. Now that's basically like where you want to move all your casualties. The problem is as you can already tell, this went from like one or two dudes being injured to like everyone's injured. So Staff Sergeant Homer pushes up to the front doors. Rogers, Lucenti, and Moy return to search for Sandbag and Ware. So they pulled the wounded dudes away and then they come back. Homer immediately communicated the situation over the radio, ordered first and second squads to collapse on the house. He needs backup. That's basically why he did that. He's standing at the front door. Moy shouted through the opening, trying to locate Sandbag, who struggled to respond over the roaring gunfire. Finally, the Marines laid down enough covering fire for them to go and get Sandbag out by his Kevlar vest. Rogers, Lucente, and Moy stacked up to recover Ware. A burst of machine gun fire tore through Lucente's abdomen as they pushed back into the house, killing him. So now he's dying. Lucente gives his only grenade, that apparently he has one. So I'm assuming that team didn't have any more grenades, but the squad did. So basically, he gives him a grenade. Moy then shoves it through the mouse hole where the ambush fire was coming through. Remember, tiny hole, machine gun fire. So kills the gunner behind it. Second lieutenant then comes up, enters the house, passes Moy Lucente, placing himself between the Marines and the enemy fire. He returned fires. Moy dragged Lucente out of the house. Moy returned, recovered Ware, and then engaged. So basically, then he's outside the house talking, and he's like, where's the lieutenant? He didn't realize he never came back out. Moy pushed back into the house on his own, found the lieutenant wounded from grenade, shrapnel, and machine guns. So as he neared the stairwell of the roof, Moy encountered an insurgent standing on a landing, throwing grenades over the roof line. They shoot that guy. Simultaneously, second squad walked behind a line of tanks. So the tanks are coming. Tanks roll out. They start shooting dudes from the tanks. There's people outside the house. Tanks can't shoot at the house. So basically, then guys go run to the house. Dude, this whole thing ends like they finally. I mean, there's even more to this, but it's just, I wanted to cover a little bit of, because it's insane, man. Like the amount of heroism here is truly, it's truly insane. So, if you guys haven't seen it, they get it, but basically, there's more. There's more here. There's a little bit more at the end, but basically, some guys run back over. They get the wounded dudes. They get cover fire from the tanks. Tanks provide cover, and they basically they get it all done. But here's the thing: is it says down here. I'm sure you see. They went in with 43 Marines and only 17 walked out. I mean, that's insane, man. That is insane to me. So, yeah, if you haven't checked that out, check out Operation Steel, um, Steel Curtain from 2005 in Iraq. 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines, 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines. I mean, like I said, just insane stuff. So, all right, check that out. All right, I didn't want to do a long stream, so here we go. All right, my last thing. All right, so Senator Kelly, all right, he had this thing where um, he was talking and he was telling with some other senators, Marines, and National Guard soldiers not to listen to the command. Hey, hate to tell you, that's sedition under the UCMJ. So they're probably going to pull him back in, and he's probably going to face some kind of either retirement. They're going to take his retirement. So the short of it is, if you take retirement from the military, you cannot break any of the UCMJ laws, and that's just the law. So a lot of people are saying that that's a step too far. You can agree with that, and you can say that politics shouldn't cross like that. But at the same time, if you're double dipping, you're taking retirement from the military. That's part of it. So, anyways, um, yeah, I just wanted to cover that real quick at the end, and yeah, I think I'm gonna end this stream here, and I appreciate y'all listening.